All right, I'd like to call to order the ARB meeting for tonight, Wednesday, it's June 14th. My apologies. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Schneider, Hallett, Lorson,
Here.
Moran,
Here.
Bartman.
Here. Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this portion of the meeting, we are at citizen time. Does anyone want to speak for citizens' time that does not have an active application?
Good evening, Board. Rumor has it that we're losing two of you tonight and that this is your last night. I guess I got to start off by saying I'm Mayor Lurson. I live at 6752 Jefferson Street, for the record. I hear both of you also opted out on the plaque that we usually give for appreciation, so I definitely wanted to stand up here and thank you for your service. What you do for the town as a volunteer helps us out extremely well, especially with making sure that we do keep an architectural balance within the streetscapes of Haymarket. Miss Curran, thank you for participating. Mrs. Lurson, thank you for participating. I wish you well in your future ventures, and thanks a whole bunch for all you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. The next thing on our agenda item is minute approval. I was informed prior to the meeting by Town Clerk Kim that the May minutes have not been completed yet to present for approval, and that the meeting minutes will be presented at the next meeting. So next, we will move on to the agenda items. Our first agenda item is the self-storage sign permit at 6600 James Madison Highway. Thomas, will you provide us with any updates?
Yes, just to update the board on the status of the application. This application was brought before the board last month. Self-Storage Plus, the now owner of 6600 James Madison Highway, has reapplied for signage. The board discussed the height of the signs, especially on the Washington Street freestanding sign, and the color scheme of the signs and the sign post. The applicant resubmitted to me updated drawings with adjusted height on Washington Street and different post colors for your consideration. We have James here from Absolute Signs here to answer any of your questions for you. If you come up here.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Thomas, so last time, it was updating the color of the posts and then easements, correct?
Yes. Property owner gave me an easement agreement for the property that was the most up to date from the county. Looking over the language of the easement, there existed one on Washington Street and James Madison Highway. Since then, VDOT has brought the property on the James Madison Highway side of the easement. In looking over the language of the easement, though, there is right to grant another easement along the edge of the parcel. So both easements are good from the planner's perspective for this signage.
Okay.
And regarding the sign colors, the updated sign designs start on packet page 13 and go through packet page 16.
I think the other thing, correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas, looks like one of the things that got tweaked or updated too was height of the sign. I think last time the new sign was slightly taller than the Haymarket self-storage sign, and that's been adjusted?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have a preference as to what design colors that you want to use? Because it looks like for the monument sign there off of Washington Street, it's like a white or black post, and same thing with the one along James Madison.
Yeah, I mean, preference would be for the black post just for dirt. They're just going to look cleaner in general conditions. But self-storage is not going to mind either way just because their brand colors are going to be the main part of the sign, so it's not really a change for them. But ideally, black would be the preference.
Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns from?
I'm fine with black.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a motion to approve? Okay.
There's a draft motion on packet page number 5.
All right, I move the board approve the COA for ZP 2023-0414 as presented for the self-storage plus signage on 6600 James Madison Highway. Do I need to add in a preference on the color? And preference on color to be black.
I second.
Roll call?
Morrison,
Yes.
Garvin,
Yes.
Brand.
Yes.
There we go.
See enough?
All right.
They're going to apply for both, correct? Both
Yes.
locations? Okay. All right.
Yeah, can make a note of that in a minute. Thank you.
All right. Good to go.
Good to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Great, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. All right. The next agenda item is the fence replacement for the VCA Healthy Paws located at 14840 Washington Street, Thomas.
Yes. So over the spring, I've coordinated with the owner of VCA Healthy Paws. I have new documents showing their old fence, and you'll see on packet page 31 on the Washington Street frontage, the location of VCA Healthy Paws on Washington Street, but also where the fence is on the left side of the picture. Some of the issues with the fence involve, one, the quality of the material because it's so old, and two, it's leaning, it's deteriorating. So it's a simple fence replacement for that, and you'll see on packet page 34 and 35 examples of what will be done and where the fence will be laid out. And since that one section's in public right-of-way on Washington Street and in the parking lot, it will be visible, hence why we brought it to the board today. The applicant is here as well to answer any questions for you, and I'm going to give you some pictures of the old fence for comparison as well that they just gave to me.
Thank you.
If you have anything to add as well from what I've said.
Nothing other, I'm Cheryl Mayhew, I manage VCA Healthy Paws right here in Haymarket, and the fence is at least 24 to 25 years old, and it is sagging and falling in many areas. We are not changing anything with the fence, we're just replacing board for board with a quality new fence that's a vinyl type, so it will be very similar to the other newer construction fences that are surrounding us now that the new townhouses are there and so forth. So it'll look more in line with that rather than the old rustic sun bleached fencing that's there.
Sure. And then I imagine with the fencing, you'll have to dig new footers for the fencing as well.
Yes, they're hoping to be able to replace them side by side with ones that are there
Okay.
and remove the parts of the damaged parts that we have so that it will literally be on the same footprint that it was now.
Okay.
It'll just look new and pretty.
And there's not, so like the one photo that's provided in our board packet, it's the view from Washington Street, kind of showing the backside of VCA. And then there's, I don't want to call it construction fencing, but like the low, knee-high
There was
debris
an
area.
original 3-foot chain link fence that belonged to the homeowners before that property was sold.
Okay.
From that vacant field. The new owner of that property also intends to put up when they have their final building out, they intend to put a very similar vinyl type fence. And he is putting down AstroTurf of some sort, because it's going to be a daycare or something like that. So he's going to put AstroTurf between the two fences so that no jungle grows between them.
Gotcha.
The small knee-high fence will have to come out in order to access the fence that they're replacing, because it's full of trees and poison ivy and vines of variant sizes.
Any questions, comments?
No, it's basically the same as the picture, correct?
Yeah,
The white vinyl.
it's going to be that white vinyl all the way around,
Okay.
which will provide privacy as well as safety. We walk dogs on leashes still in that fenced-in yard, but it just protects our parking area and where any animals might be, so that it's protecting from the rest of the community.
That's great.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the fence replacement as presented by VCA?
Let me go again.
Sure.
All right. I move the board approve the COA for ZP 2023-0619 as presented for the VCA Healthy Paws fence at 14840 Washington Street.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay?
Roll call?
Larson,
Yes.
Brand,
Yes.
Barban.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item.
Yep. All right.
So right now, we are currently reviewing a site plan for a new dentist office in Haymarket. I apologize for the printout quality on the diagram of where it's located, but packet page, stapler's covering it, what do you see? .42, I believe. Sorry, it's cut off. It should show the site. It's behind the Chick-fil-A and the Fauquier Bank and the CVS Pharmacy, and it'll sit between Kitty Academy and that other pad site that will eventually be something else. They've provided us with digital copies of the color scheme for the elevations, as well as material samples and some contextual pictures of the other properties around it. We also have physical samples that you can look at and I can bring up to you. Heather is representing Lifetime Smiles right now, and the property owners are here as well if you have any questions for them.
Hi, I'm Heather Way with Helpful Architects. So. I think one thing, just to talk you through it a little bit, we did look at the Fauquier Bank and the Chick-fil-A and the CVS kind of for guidance on the color scheme. We are looking to do mostly a brick front of the building. It wraps slightly around the sides. There is a brick water table on all four sides. And then we're going to a hardy plank siding for the rest of it from that up. It'll have an ephes cornice, a tapered insulation roof. Downspouts will be out the back, still on grade. The one thing that just changed this week, we can't get the drainage that we need across the back, so those rear doors are going to move to the side.
Stay up here. Move them around.
And then where's the black trim?
Here, the tile sample, Susie has it.
I noticed in the elevation plan that you have, you call out the bricks and everything kind of match up, you know, with the colors and the elements. But I did notice the mortar wasn't selected. The mortar color hasn't been selected yet.
Right, so
Can you speak to that?
intent for the mortar color is to probably be more of a tannish color similar to the lighter brick, and we would probably use the same mortar on both.
Okay. I will say, I mean, I think the one thing that I really appreciate with this application package, I'm a very visual individual. And so I think this is, to me, this was very well put together. I could clearly tell that you drew from Chick-fil-A, you drew from CVS, and you provided those photos in there. So it was very apparent to me that you kind of thought through and trying to, you know, blend with what's already there. It wasn't like you just threw down a building and, you know, made it work. So I really appreciate that. The storefront, I guess at the very front of the building, you have, it almost looks like the eaves portion is like 6 feet, 7 feet above the rest of the main roof. Is the intent there to hide mechanical systems that are on the roof? Or what's...
Yeah, it will be screening mechanical systems. What doesn't quite show up, but it will be hidden by that parapet, is to frame that parapet, it is going to have kickers that come back. But we've lessened the angle of them so they shouldn't be visible from the street. But yes, part of the intent of the parapet height is to screen the mechanical units.
Okay. And then I think the exterior lighting that kind of wraps around the building, is that part of this packet, or is that separate, or?
We have not selected that at this time. Is that something that you need to review?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we historically kind of fold in all together.
Okay. Can
you
we
know.
come back at a separate time with that as an amendment to the application?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, probably something black carriage light style, or a little bit more traditional is kind of what we're thinking, but we haven't decided that yet.
Okay. And then I guess kind of speaking to that with coming back, is there any sort of fencing or, you know, trash or any other exterior elements that will kind of impact the
No, so
visual
we're
implications?
trying to keep all of the units up on the roof. We're not going to have condensers on pads or anything. The site plan does not currently include a trash enclosure. I believe there is one on site that's available for their use.
Okay.
And other than that, yeah, there's no outdoor seating, no fencing, none of that.
Okay. Any other?
I wanted to ask a clarifying question, Heather. I noticed on the front elevation, you described signage to be provided by others.
Yes.
I'm curious, though, if you're bringing back a couple other elements to the board next meeting, is signage something that you would also want to bring to us at the same time?
Signage is going to be handled directly by the owner and the contractor, so we certainly could try and merge those two presentations together to make it more efficient for the board. I think that would be a goal.
We can maybe treat them as separate applications, but then have them same meeting. We can coordinate for the right materials and applications, and then we can move forward with that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Vice Chair, we've got Mr. Schneider going to be joining us here shortly, right now.
Oh, okay.
You there, Rashawn? All right, I'm good.
Oh, goodness. You're gonna be interesting.
All right. Go ahead. Okay, we have All Smiles Dental, who is at the podium before the board, and they're talking about the elevations. So,
Okay.
Mr. Barbin, you want to just bring Mr. Schneider up to date on what you've all discussed so far?
Yeah, so one of the things that we talked about, Mershant, was, can you hear me?
Can you hear him?
I can barely hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect, thank you.
So one of the things that we already discussed was how they drew in from the other buildings, the surrounding buildings, and kind of brought in color schemes and material themes from those buildings, you know, the Chick-fil-A, the Fauquier Bank, the CVS. And so when they provided samples, we were looking at the samples, comparing the two different brick colors and comparing that how it meshes with some of the darker colors and some of the aesthetics there. The 6 or 7 foot high eaves at the front of the building that will face Washington Street. The purpose of that is to hide mechanical units that are up on the roof. The mortar color has not officially been picked out yet, but it sounds like they're planning on going with a tan color, similar to the lighter tan brick. And they're not going to have any fencing or trash or anything on the site, or any like trash receptacles or fencing like the back of the CVS has. Am I missing anything? I think that's it.
Okay.
Oh, and then the lights, the exterior lights. They're gonna, even though they're on the elevations, they're going to submit that at a later date. So we'll just have to caveat that in the application.
I'm sorry, what's going to be submitted at a later date?
The lights, the exterior.
The lights?
Yeah, the exterior lights. They're not part of this application package.
Okay. Or the sign? The sign's not part of it?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I do. What I did notice, though, I'm sorry, I was still loud.
Sorry.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry I'm late. Double booked tonight. And I'm sorry I'm not there for Stacy and Susie. That being said, four-sided architecture, you know, we have all those other buildings within the complex there have the four-sided architecture. And then next door at Crossroads, all those buildings have the four-sided architecture. The brick facade, but then had a different material. So I was going to recommend at least 3 sides have the same architecture to match what's around it. I know we just approved the Kitty Academy, and there's a lot of discussion about how that might be screened from this property. I do feel that these buildings will be visible from the road and also as people internally circulate. So that was going to be my recommendation, was 4-sided architecture would be preferable, but the 3 sides, you know, the front and the 2 sides matching, I think would be at least the minimum. Does the board have any thoughts on that?
You just to confirm, because I was looking at the site plan. You said at least 3 sides with the same architecture, or at least 2.
Yeah, I just want to tee it up for the board. Most all the buildings in this 2 complex, all the buildings have 4-sided architecture of the same material. Is there a preference for this building here? I think at a minimum it would be 3, but 4 would make it consistent.
I think to clarify a little bit, we did try to dress up the 2 sides a little bit with some of those ribbon windows. Part of what's driving some of the exterior architecture is the interior layout. So you do have dental office suites that are trying to capture those windows, but you don't necessarily want to be looking straight out at cars pulling in towards you or anything if you're laying back in a dental chair. So we'd like to keep the windows up high. And then part of the difference of going from brick to siding too is just, we really want to make sure that we're emphasizing what the front of the building is, not making it confusing, because it is kind of a site that's sided with parking on multiple sides.
I'm sorry, I could barely hear that response.
Okay. So basically what I was saying is, can you hear me okay now?
I can, thank you.
Okay. The parking lot basically surrounds this building. So, and it is going to be full of dental suites, dental offices. So from an interior perspective, we wanted to ensure the comfort of the patients that are there, that are in a dental chair, that they're not having to look at especially wintertime or something, they're not looking at cars with headlights coming out to them, parking with them, which is why we kept the windows up high. So you still get some natural light into those offices, those dental suites, without having a visual obstruction or a visual impairment for people who are laying down and kind of can't do anything about it. So that was part of the reason why we decided to focus more on creating a main front elevation, also to guarantee that, or not guarantee, but to direct patients to where the front of the building is, so it's not confusing for them when they're visiting.
And I'm sorry, this is a rationale as to why not to do the three-sided architecture, or just explaining what the intent is?
That's the intent. Typically in this sort of style of architecture, we don't necessarily make all four sides equal. I think it's important to have a front side. There's also obviously some cost considerations with going with a full brick building versus a brick and siding building. So I think those are some of the factors that we were weighing when we decided how we wanted the front of the building and the sides of the building to look. I think we have worked to make the sides of the building a little bit more attractive by having some brick columns, brick pilasters, and some windows along those edges.
Okay, I think I understand it. The only other buildings I know that have that sort of architecture, across the street at Villages of Haymarket, they have, or Top of Haymarket, they have the brick facade, and then they have like a cinder block sides, but you can't see those from the road. And then we had Fred's Garage across from Town Hall that was a wood building that had a brick storefront attached to it that fell off at some point. But anyway, my recommendation to the board would be some variation of that so that it matches the predominant architecture within the complex. If its location of the property lends itself to something different, I'll defer to what the committee to do.
Well, let me ask you, is it veneer brick, like just like just like this thin stuff, or is it like an actual?
It's full-size brick.
Okay. So then that makes sense from your cost standpoint. I'm looking at the site plan here because I mean it's directly behind the bank. Chick-fil-A is kind of off to, I'll call it my right. CVS is, I think that's CVS, right? It's off to the left.
It's kind of tucked back on the site, so it's not as prominent on the street as a lot of the other buildings in this complex.
And it looks like, if this plan's correct, that the parking lot is right in front of the building, right at the front entrance.
Yeah, it's in front, and then there's a little bit of parking on the side. From the front of this building, you will actually be seeing the dumpster enclosure from CVS, so.
Oh, so like if I were to walk in the main doors and I look over to my left, I'd see the dumpster, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, Ben, one clarifying question, just to make sure I'm saying this correctly. The elevations that you have, they show a brick front and then some sort of wood siding on the sides broken up by brick columns?
Yes, so it's brick columns with a brick water table base and a brick sill that then has hardy board siding for the remainder of the height of the building.
And sorry to belabor the point, but is the brick harder to do wider window opening? But you're trying to create the dentist or the patient aesthetic, or?
I think the primary driver here is cost. Brick is probably about 2 to 3 times the cost of hardy plank siding.
Okay. I just know we've gotten a lot of feedback lately about the project where the Popeye's going and stuff like that. I think there's the interest, especially the hotel. The hotel was the most recent one that went in with the four-sided brick.
I would like to point out
yeah, but
there
again,
is
location
siding
here.
on the bank as well.
Yeah, location here may drive the decisions. Thank you.
And then with the darker brick, I'm just thinking all this through. The darker vertical bands of brick, do they project out from?
They do.
Okay.
They come out, they have an 8-inch relief.
Okay. So like the size of the double brick, or how would, just thinking this through from a construction standpoint, right? With this hardy board, I'm assuming with the cement fiber, you probably have like cold form or some sort of steel backup.
So this building is going to be a wood framed construction with 2 sets of rooftop joists that are divided into 40-foot and 20-foot spans, then supported by a steel beam in the middle. It does have a wood backup with batt insulation and then some rigid insulation that's continuous on the exterior to try and bring that hardy plank forward a little bit over top of the brick. So it'll have that waterproofing layer there behind it. It'll be a consistent drainage plane.
So I mean, I think normally with a true non-veneer brick frame, right? Normally you have like a CMU infill or backup wall behind it. So I guess I'm just thinking through in terms of the cost. You're really still going to have the same wood framing from the structure at both locations, so you won't be swapping, changing out materials,
It's
right?
a continuous wood stud that's 14 foot tall.
So really then the only cost would just be, the exterior materials.
Correct.
Okay.
And some additional steel to support lintels for the windows and things like that.
Right, of course. Any other questions, comments, or thoughts on the 3-sided architecture versus what's submitted?
No, I actually think what she submitted makes sense to me. I like the idea of having the front look a little bit different, and I feel like they've at least added on to the other 2 sides to make it visually appealing. So I'm not quite sure why they would need to do more than was presented.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the Fakir Bank, that's brick all the way throughout with the columns highlighted, looks like in some sort of vinyl cement board or something like that to kind of highlight those. CVS is consistent kind of all the way across. And I think we only have the front elevation of Chick-fil-A, but I think Chick-fil-A also has the same. Thomas Merchant brought up the Kitty Academy. Refresh my memory where that's going on the site plan.
Yes, so let's see. Kitty Academy will go, if you're facing Lifetime Smiles, it will go behind Lifetime Smiles on the lot back there. And then kitty corner to that will be the Pulte Townhomes to the right. So if you're facing north towards
66.
relatively towards 66, it'll be Lifetime Smiles and then Kitty Academy and then Pulte to your top right.
Okay.
And the current site plan does show a landscaping barrier between Kitty Academy and Lifetime Smiles.
Okay. And do you have those elevations of Kitty Academy? Because
They were just submitted to me today. I'm currently reviewing them.
but
So I still don't have a grasp on, but go ahead, sorry.
I guess I was asking, can you refresh my memory as to where we last left that last month? Because I'm wondering if, this Lifetime Smiles then becomes the bridge into the new development, right? Because they're pulling from CVS, Chick-fil-A, Fauquier Bank, and then
There's a
just
bridge
kind of,
gap,
yeah, like,
the architectural gap.
yeah.
From what I remember, a lot of the conditions that we gave included bollard color, fence color, trash enclosure color, the bollards and fence being black, the trash enclosure, and
Bollards, black fence, playground, earth tone color playground.
so that's the earth tone color playground structures, which has been submitted. The trash enclosure matches the building exterior, which is the more tan. Actually, I believe it was more gray, so if it's more with Crossroads Village.
Yeah, because I think Kitty Academy, we swapped the colors to kind of highlight the horizontal rather than the vertical, right? And that was the gray hardy board.
Yes.
Okay.
Is Marchand still on the line?
Yes.
Does he have any
He's
comments from
hard-
what we've
he's hard
discussed?
to hear. People need, y'all need to speak into the mics a little bit more so he can hear you. Marchand,
Sorry, were you?
do
Yes.
you remember the the approval conditions for Kitty Academy?
Which part?
What I have written down is that the materials of the trash enclosures, the black bollards, black fence, playgrounds are to be earth tone colors. And Ben was asking about, go ahead.
I was asking about the colors and the material selection because ultimately I think, they've tried to do a good job of, tying their color scheme, their material scheme to the other buildings in front. And I'm just wondering if, the back and the right and the left elevation then becomes the bridge to the newer Kitty Academy and some of the other buildings on the site. Kind of like how it, with the traditional painting, how you try to lead the viewer's eye.
Gotcha. Well, I think for both developments, there's a thematic element to it, right? And I think that, and so those buildings and those complexes, and even the Lidl incorporated a lot of the material from the balance of that development. Here, I would agree that there needs to be some tie-in of this building with the complex. It wants to be distinctive, but not totally out of character with what's around it. Or maybe it's a good transition between the Kitty Academy and the rest of that complex. So,
Marchand, this is Thomas.
I don't know if that's helpful or not.
To the applicant's point, when we say referring to the surrounding property, do we mean the Quarles property or Crossroads Village?
I'm talking about the Coral. Yeah, Coral's property has. I'm sorry. What was your question?
Which property in question are we reviewing, or I guess comparing to surroundings-wise? The applicant
I think with
submitted
this, we're
CVS,
talking about how it
Chick-fil-A.
blends in with Coral. Yeah.
You said Quarles. Sorry, you cut out.
Yeah, Corals. I think that's my point was that this building would expect to tie in with the Coral theme, which part of it was the four-sided architecture. I bring that.
We attempted to try and blend in with the Quarles property through color and finish selection. So the colors of the brick and the siding material, which is present on the bank building, all of those materials are found elsewhere in this site.
Yeah.
Vice Chair
So
Barban.
reviewing it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry for the technical difficulties on my laptop, but I pulled up Sam's email for Kitty Academy. It is gray, but it's a lighter gray, and there are accessory elements that match what is being submitted for Lifetime Smiles. In my view, it would be a transition. Or Lifetime
Well, it's
Smiles
clear
would be a
Kitty Academy
transition
is
between.
part of Crossroads. I think it's clear that this is part of the Corals. And again, guys, I apologize that connection's kind of broken up a little bit, but overall, I think the building design and theme is a good one. My only concern, as I keep mentioning, was that there is a sort of a high quality unified design, and that the idea of doing 3-sided versus 4-sided was to the applicant's point about cost. If there's eliminate the cost of having to face the back of that building with brick, given the fact that it's sort of tucked behind, I think that'll be fine. But I think the 3 sides would be reasonable accommodations, tie in with Coral, and then transition to Crossroads.
I guess do we want to entertain a potential revision to see what the brick will look like on the left and the right elevation? Or do we want to?
Good.
And ask it again so he can hear you.
Marshawn, I'm wondering, should we have them resubmit with another option of doing the left and right elevations in brick? That way we can have both options at the next meeting and select and move forward with that.
Yeah, I would think that'll be appropriate.
Okay. All right. Do I just need to make that announcement and then
We're going to, we'll just defer this until next month when they bring back both elevations, one with all brick and the other as what they presented tonight.
Okay.
To clarify before you do that, what we're working with then is a lighting application for Lifetime Smiles, a sign application for Lifetime Smiles, and this revision that is now being deferred to next month.
Do you think that you could have the lighting application and the sign? Okay.
Yeah.
Next month? Okay.
Well, I'm not sure about the signage. It's outside of my scope of work, but
Okay.
the lighting I certainly can.
Okay. Do you think that you'll only submit one option of lighting or multiple options that we can kind of?
What would be the board's preference?
I know traditionally kind of in this area of town, we typically go with the gooseneck lighting. But I think if you have better option if we have, if we're given an option, right, you're more likely to walk away with a decision.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to table this application for next meeting. The applicant will resubmit the elevations as presented herein, as well as a modified option that has on the left and right elevations, the hardy board will be replaced with brick.
Can I clarify just a couple of things with that? So when you're mentioning 3-sided architecture, is it appropriate if the parapet still steps down on the side? We don't maintain the same parapet height all the way around?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
So on the front of the building, we have an increased parapet height that's well above the roof to help screen some of the mechanical units. We stepped it down on the sides, partly due to constructability issues with building this out of wood and lengths of wood that you can get in stud sizes. If we're required to keep that parapet height taller throughout the building, then that might force us to have to change into a different type of construction type, which also is significantly more expensive for the applicant. So I just wanted to clarify what the intent is behind your comment of 3-sided architecture with brick. Is it that all 3 sides are exactly the same?
And I don't want to speak for Marshawn, but I think for me, there's already a precedent with Chick-fil-A and CVS to have differing levels of parapets. So I think, for me, I would just kind of like to see what what it would look like if the cement fiberboard were replaced with the brick that's on the front.
Okay, thank you.
And the purpose of my question of 3 was a compromise to the cost of having to brick all 4 sides. It just sort of a unit. Someone could look at the building and say, "Hey, it's a unified material."
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. We'll bring it, we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Yes.
And what is the due date for the revision submission?
I will get back with you on that. Part of what I'm announcing, bringing to the board today, is a schedule change for the July meeting,
Okay, thank you.
but most likely 2 weeks prior to that meeting date.
Okay. Does the board have any other questions for me?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Sean, anything else?
No, I'm literally like 3 minutes out. I apologize about having this conversation over a cell phone, and I apologize to the applicant rep about that. So look forward to talking to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, old business. Thomas, do we have any old business?
Yes, just to go over a couple of other items. As I mentioned during the last review, Kitty Academy has resubmitted their exterior architectural elements to me. I'm currently reviewing those and will give conditional or administrative approval soon. Same goes for Taco Bell. We've had a lot on our schedule, and timing-wise, I've been coordinating with them to revise a couple other items on the drawing as requested by the board. So working through approval on those. The site plan for Lifetime Smiles is under preliminary review currently, and the Kitty Academy site plan will be brought before Planning Commission next week. In terms of other old business, in terms of architecture, Popeyes is almost complete. They're waiting for my zoning letter, which I'm issuing soon for occupancy, to obtain that from the county. And Pulte continues to build their townhomes and close on those. So it's very busy here. Do you have other questions on other sites for old business?
All right. Any new business?
Yes, the first one I wanted to bring up, and you may need to help me on this one, but given board turnover and schedules for the, I guess, incumbent board members, there's a proposal to change the date of the July Architectural Review Board meeting. And what were the options again?
Mr. Schneider will be out of town basically the first 3 weeks in July. So his request is to move the ARB meeting from the third Wednesday of the month to the fourth Wednesday of the month, which is, I believe, the date is July 26th.
And
So I'm asking direction from you, Ben, if that's okay with you, that we move the meeting to the 26th. I do believe that the two individuals that will that will be appointed in July at the town council meeting, I do believe that they have confirmed with me that the 26th is okay with them.
yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong. We normally, because we kind of rescheduled and rejiggered some of these meetings
Correct.
over the past few months. We're supposed to meet the third.
The general
Wednesday.
meetings are generally the third Wednesday of each month, right?
Okay. Let me check both of my calendars here. Yeah, I have no
Okay, okay with that?
conflicts with July 20.
Thank you for accommodating that.
Okay,
You're welcome.
you're off the hook, maybe again, Ben, but we don't know. Okay, so we'll change that then to the 26th of July. Thank you.
Any Any other new business?
Yes, the other item of new business I have is, we discussed, I believe, few months ago, I can't remember specifically, I brought to you new business about discussion of the historic district, the overlay map, those kind of things. We're putting together a more comprehensive list of the historic district guidelines along with the historic district map for the board's consideration to amend and discuss as needed. So that I will be bringing to the board next month.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Thomas, what was that?
We've discussed before about amendment or the historic district guidelines as well as the historic overlay map, or what the extent of that is. And Emily, town manager, and I have discussed going over those guidelines and the overlay to make sure that everything necessary for it is included in the text of the zoning ordinance and the ARB guidelines, as well as any other discussion points or suggestions by the board. Could you hear me okay?
So we had recommended amendments to the overlay district before, with the revised overlay district standard zoning text amendment, and the council adopted the text without the revised map. So I guess we're looking at that map again, is what you think?
Essentially, yes, for that part of it, yes.
Okay.
And I'll update you if Emily has any other suggestions for discussion.
Okay.
Any other,
That's all for new
sorry,
business.
Thomas, any other applications coming up?
Oh, currently, no. I'm doing a review of other zoning sign-related violations in the town. Because the meeting got moved up to this date, I didn't have time to complete it and ask applicants for applications or potential applicants. So I will be going through that these next couple weeks.
Okay. The houses on Blight Drive, are they ready to come forward yet?
We're still working on outside agency approvals and coordination for that, but the site plan should be under review July or August.
Okay, but the elevations will come to us at that point?
Yes, I'll follow up with them on that.
Okay. And then the house or the subdivision down off of Fayette, is that moving anywhere?
What's the specific address again?
There was a series of lots approved on Fayette and Jefferson.
Yes, I'll follow up with the applicant on that one.
Okay. And then I think Emily had talked about moving forward with the signs for the front of the building.
Yes, she and the treasurer, Roberto, are still coordinating that for financing and eventual construction of the signs.
Okay. And who's that guy driving out front? I'll see you in a minute.
Okay.
Do we have any planning commission updates?
Just some brief ones. I've been going over the comprehensive plan appendix, updating any maps that were out of sorts, and also updating guidelines given from the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act. We've been doing public hearings and motions to pass those. We had a discussion about land use, and other than that, nothing.
Okay.
Aside from the site plans as well that I've described to you.
Okay. Do we want to wait for Mershant to give the town council update?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. We can wait a few more seconds.
Just in time.
Just in time for town council updates.
Yes.
What do we have to say about council updates?
Tax rate was approved,
Tax rate was approved, which was reduced from former years.
0.111.
1.11.
.111,
111. Okay.
Zip Trip on Friday,
On Thursday or Friday?
Friday.
Friday. So do you remember several years ago, Fox Zip Trip came to town, and they actually set up right outside here, and they had showcases of local businesses, so they'll be coming back in on Friday. Do we know who we're interviewing? Is there anyone that's demonstrating during that? Do you remember?
Rachel, the event planner, and Emily have been working on it,
Okay.
so I'm not quite sure who the guests of honors are.
Like the news people are coming here?
Yep,
They'll have live
from 6
sort of
to
check-ins
6 to 11,
throughout their broadcast.
To 11?
Yeah, Friday morning.
Friday morning.
Between each of the breaks, they'll be featuring sort of little snippets of businesses throughout town. If you go on the
Cool.
Facebook page, they have one for Jazzercise down the way. So it's good promotion for it.
The street's going to be shut down from Jefferson to Fayette.
That's why the street's gonna be shut down.
Oh, for the Zip Trip.
For the Zip Trip.
Yeah.
3 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's,
Yep.
Okay. I don't know who's going to be broadcasting at 3 o'clock, but. We are, so I think I mentioned last month, the park property, there's an ongoing discussion about reaffirming the park plan, which was reusing the park building for some sort of park services building, gazebo. We put a survey together, I think we started last Sunday, to sort of check in with folks. Rather than scrapping the whole master plan and starting from scratch, we're hoping to get some people's feedback on, is there a preference for a park services building? Preference for maybe replacing that building with a pavilion, or would have separate bathroom facilities? Or was there something else that someone would like to see? But the hope is to get that feedback before we decide how to move forward. So, hopefully we'll post that to the Facebook page, and if you could talk to your friends and arounds your neighborhoods, respective neighborhoods, to make sure that they provide their input on that. So,
Is that survey up now, or?
you know what's up now?
Not sure.
Okay. Do you know if we got? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just.
Oh, yes, we've been locked out of survey monkey.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to get back in.
So hopefully by the end of the summer, and then we obviously starting to plan for Haymarket Day already. So, we already talked about 2 new members for the committee next month. So, and then we're still looking for a planning commissioner, I believe, as well. So, please talk about the benefits of serving on the committee. That's all I had. Thanks, Thomas. Sorry I was late.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
So a second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.